Hey everyone, today we have got a brand new machine that's arrived at AM's premises, and that is the new hot and cold automatic laminating machine. So we're going to go have a look at it, test it out, and we're going to do lamination on a board as well as doing it straight to vinyl and testing it out. So let's go have a look at it. If we have a look here, I'm going to bend the edge here to see where the board begins. And as you can see, the leftover piece that we have here on this side as well as the other side is around about 5 to 10 centimeters. My rule of thumb is that if you have more than 10 centimeters overlap from one side to the other, you're most likely going to have a failed lamination to this board because this material is going to stick to the laminator. So your best option is to always trim it a bit shorter so you have less material, because once you peel this backing off, it's going to stick to everything. So we want to trim it to around about 2 centimeters, more or less, nothing more than that, otherwise you will have a problem with it sticking to the laminator. The last thing you need to do is make sure that you peel off the protective layer on the Perspex, the side that you are going to use the application. So for instance, we want to apply it to here, so you must remove the plastic layer, whether it be metal, glass or steel. There will be a protective layer that you need to remove in order to apply. Now we're ready to laminate. Okay, first thing we need to do is obviously make sure the machine is on, and because we are laminating this to a cold surface, a piece of plastic or steel, we don't need hot lamination on. Hot lamination is mainly if you want to do lamination to posters or anything that you need a tight seal on with absolutely no bubbles or imperfections. So hot lamination we normally don't do for vinyl application. We normally do that for poster printing or cardboard printing so that you end up with a flat print poster instead of it curling over. Once the machine is on and you've set it to cold and you've set it to forward motion, now you need to make sure that your air compressor is on and you push up your laminator roll. Now that your laminator roll is up, I always like to do things like so. I don't like doing them the length of your laminator. If there's a side that is longer, it's easier to manage with applying by doing just like this. If you want to get edge to edge, make sure that you haven't gone short. You can always let go because now the board's in and you can go around and check the other side. So for instance, if I was incorrect and this was a little bit over like so, if it's over like that, then I can at least walk to the other side, come have a look, and then move it over, and always peer over to the other side and make sure that it's covering from left to right everywhere before you go and start doing your laminating. So now that I'm happy, we can now push the laminator roll back down again. All we need to do is move it forward until we have about 30 centimeters give or take in the front. Okay, so that should be enough. Now the first thing we need to do is obviously we've made sure that we have aligned this. We need to make sure that there's no bubbles going into your laminator from over here where my finger is. So this needs to be 100% flat. If your vinyl is a bit wavy, all you need to do is make sure that you hold it down before you put your roller back down again, so that when this comes down, it puts the vinyl flat here. If you have a bubble, just as small as something like that, where my fingers are currently, that will cause an imperfection and it will not laminate correctly and it will crease as it's going in. Okay, so now that we've got that out the way, first thing we need to do is go ahead and peel one corner. And then once we've got the first corner peeled, we want to just slowly move to the edge in the middle, and then we're going to peel it back just like so. And I like to put it over the laminator roll and peel back your backing until you end up with it flat. And when I say flat, I mean if you pull the vinyl back and it's over the other side of the roll, this needs to be flat going down here. Now what we can do is we can either cut this off or we can fold it. But if I can just say that if you're going to cut it, you will leave a whole bunch of little pieces of paper. So if I go ahead and tear this, the little pieces come off and then they stay here, and then when you laminate this to the board, you'll have little bubbles everywhere because you've got bits of paper. So the best thing is to do is not to cut or tear your paper off. We're going to go ahead and we're going to fold it back under itself, and then we just leave ourselves this little bubble here. Make sure it's as straight as possible with the laminator table so that you don't end up with something like that. You want to peel it back and push it in until it's more or less the same straightness. Now that I've got that, all we need to do is go ahead and make sure that we hold back the vinyl at the back here, just enough tension so that it stays flat against our roll. Now once we've got that, we can go ahead and push on our pedal and slowly just move this in with increments. We don't want to go too fast and we don't want to go too slow. We just want to do it little pieces at a time. And then you just keep going until you get to the edge. Now we don't completely push it out. What we want to do is we want to bring it back again so that we can start with the other side, and then when we're actually finished with the main portion, we can do the edges flat properly with the laminator. So now all we need to do is go back to reverse, and now we just do reverse back out until, now I'm going to put my hand here because I need to feel where the paper ends, where it's folded over, and I think it's already there. So we're going to peel this back here. This is the unpeeled portion of our sticker, and then we're going to go to the other side. What we want to do is look from the top. We want to grab this piece and slowly wedge it out so that we can peel back our backing paper. And then once that happens, we can just peel it up to this point here. All we need to do is hold it. So we're going to make sure it's on reverse, not forward, and then we're going to push our pedal so that it slowly comes back towards us. And all we want to do is keep the tension against the roller, the vinyl, so that it can be fed in straight onto the Perspex. And again, all we do is just go slowly, and we don't rush this process. We go little pieces at a time. And all we do is hold the backing that we're taking off, and we're holding this piece together, and we're slowly just feeding it in to our laminator. And then we're going to get to a point where we've only got this much left. All we want to do is peel it off. Peel it off so that you don't have the backing in hand, and you have this perfect little arch. And all we do again is just slowly feed it in, make sure it doesn't flop over to cause a bubble. And then we let go, and now that side is perfectly flat and laminated, and because we trimmed these edges, there isn't enough to stick to our bed as well as our laminator roll. So now what we need to do is put it back onto forward, and then we can feed it back into our machine so that we can laminate the front section which we missed, which is here. So it's going to get a second lamination, which is fantastic. And then we're going to push it all the way through so that it gets this last piece without any bubbles. And there we go. That's how you laminate a board correctly without having any of your lamination or vinyl, your excess pieces, sticking to the machine. So the less you have here, the more likely you are to have a perfect laminated piece of vinyl onto your Perspex or plastic without any of this excess sticking to the machine. It is always good to have a table at the end to catch your material so it doesn't hit the floor directly and then break something. And the good news is AM is looking into manufacturing tables specifically meant for the laminators to help you laminate most size of materials, whether it be wood, steel or glass. So now we've showed you how to laminate to a board which is an ARB size. Now we're going to show you how to laminate the vinyl itself with lamination. Okay, so we're here at our laminator. We've got a little bit of vinyl and we've got our lamination here on the top. Now we've gone ahead and switched on our machine, and I'm just going to quickly show you the settings that I'm going to be using to do this section. So we're going to do cold lamination and a speed of 4. Now it's just as easy as turning the dial down here to change the speed up or down accordingly. Now that's to change the speed so that you can use the foot pedal and not operate this by hand, since this is a fully automatic laminator. So the first thing we need to do after we've switched our machine on is actually put the vinyl in. Now the best thing to do is get yourself a cardboard roll. Now the only way you can get one of these rolls is if you finish a roll of vinyl, and then roll up your vinyl onto that instead of directly to the aluminium bar. As you can see here on top, we've got roller number 1 and roller number 2. This allows you to have a roll of gloss and a roll of matte. I'm going to be using matte lamination. So now we need to make sure that we take our vinyl and we're going to pull it up onto the flat piece here. Next, we need to activate our laminator roll to go up, and that's by just pushing this in to go down or pulling it out for it to go up, and we want it up. So now that I've got it up, we're going to push our vinyl in so that it comes out to the other side, and I only want to go as far as that line that's showing over there. So now that we've got our vinyl in, we now need to take which lamination we're using, which is going to be matte, and we're going to need to feed that in on top and then line it up so that we actually get the correct amount of lamination we need on not too much, because that's where mistakes happen. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab our lamination from underneath, and we're going to take it down, and what we want to do is push down against the roll so that it starts taking the shape of the roller. Now either you can go ahead and push it in via the pedal or do it manually. So let's go ahead and lift our air. And now all we need to do is hold our vinyl in place and just push the lamination through the bottom end of the roller. And just keep pushing, and then go ahead and see until it's lined up and you've got the right amount of lamination, and it must go to the edge where the vinyl is. Next thing we need to do is make sure that our lamination is on the edge of our vinyl and not too much over or not even touching at all. So in this case, you've got two options. Either you can move the top piece here, you can move your roll over manually, or if this vinyl is short enough, then just move the vinyl. In this case, my vinyl is not too big, so I'm just going to look through the top here again, and I'm just going to make sure that they've lined up with each other. All we need to do now is go ahead and hit our air switch so the laminator roll goes back down again and clamps both the vinyl and the lamination. So as you can see here, our lamination is quite far over compared to where our vinyl is. So we're going to use this opportunity to use this indent line here, and we're going to bring both of them forward and cut them on the same line so that they are identical in terms of length. So you roll it enough so that you can cover the line completely. And there we go. And then you just drop your lamination on top of your vinyl, just like that. And then we're going to cut along this line and cut this so it's straight. So now we need to move our table back so that we can cut our lamination to the exact same size as our vinyl print on that side. So let's move our table back. So now we need to do is push this vinyl all the way back out until we get to the end of our actual vinyl print so we can cut the lamination. And what we want is it to go above that roller bar so that it doesn't end up going underneath the table. So now you can see the edge of our print, and we've got this excess piece, which is very important to have. So now what we're going to do, in order to cut this the correct length or a little bit shorter so we don't waste lamination, what we need to do is stop it to a point where it is now so that we can cut it over here on top of the roller all the way across, so that when this flaps over, it's not going to be more than our vinyl, and it's not going to then stick to our lamination bed. As you can see, all we want is the lamination to be shorter than the vinyl itself, so that once this is actually peeled off its backing, it's not overlapping your vinyl, and then as it's going through, it's not going to stick to the bed of the laminator. So now we finished with our sizing and making sure everything's to size. Now we are ready to actually laminate this vinyl. So we need to throw it into reverse first. From there, we need to pull it out about 30 centimeters. And that's about it. That's all you need. Just before we go ahead, we're going to switch it back into forward. And now we're ready to start peeling our lamination. So all we need to do is slowly peel back the edge, and we want to pull it towards the roller and just leave it on top. And make sure that your fingers are also not dirty, otherwise you'll end up with fingerprints with everything. All I'm doing here is throwing the lamination over the other side of the roller, and I'm peeling back the backing ever so slowly so that we don't end up with creases or any imperfections in our lamination. And then you just keep pulling until you get to the base of your roller, just like this. And it all needs to be the same length and the same tension. All you've done is left this rest on top of the roller. So this is probably one of the most important steps that we're about to do here. Now, a lot of people have learned how to do this without cutting anything, which is the best way to do it. And there's sometimes you have no choice to cut. But in this instance, the more you cut here, the more you're going to leave behind the bits and pieces of the end of the paper, which are little pieces of white paper. Now, that will cause a bubble in your lamination, and it's in imperfection. So we prefer not to cut anything at this stage. All we're going to do is pick up our backing and fold it back underneath on top of the vinyl and just push it in. You don't want to push down and fold it yourself. You just want to push it in underneath until it can't go anymore. And once you've hit that stage, now we are ready to slow down our lamination speed, and then we can start with the lamination. So what we need to do is pick up our lamination here at the back, and we want to hold it back, give it a bit of tension. And that's when we slowly just start tapping the pedal for it to go in, and we don't want to go too fast. We want to do this slowly in the beginning because there's no reason to rush this process. And then just before it goes in, you'll see it flattens itself, and then we actually start with laminating to the vinyl. And what you want to do is just keep going until the first portion, as you can see here, is laminated. Okay, so now that that's done, we want it to come back again so that we can start peeling off the other side, so we can laminate the whole thing at once. So let's throw it back into reverse, and then we use our pedal and make sure that it just comes back out slowly. And then this is where you need to pay attention. That piece that just folded at the back, you need to stop just before that folded piece it goes into the laminator. We're at the final stage of lamination. This is the last part that we have to do. What we need to do now is go to our backing, and we want to lift it up so that we can then have the laminator bring back our lamination this way while we're peeling the backing off. So let's do it. So all we're going to do here is grab our lamination. Just going to let it flop over the front. Now what we need to do is grab our backing that's here at the back and make sure that we slowly pull on it until it releases. And now that it's released, we're going to just pull it back until we can see the lamination there. Now we need to put it into reverse if it isn't already, and we want it to come back towards us. So we're going to slowly tap our pedal so that we can slowly laminate, and we just got to hold the backing paper. As you can see, I'm just holding it so it doesn't go back in there, and we just want it to slowly laminate, not too fast. And then actual fact, stop halfway if you want to just double check, and all we need to do is just lift this up and have a look underneath. And so far so good, so we're just going to carry on going until it runs out of its backing paper. We're just going to keep going. And there we go. So now that's when we stop. We take our backing paper away and we put our finger here right on the edge, and then we just keep going because we don't want the lamination to flop over and cause a bubble. And then you just let go, and there we go. We have now got a laminated piece of vinyl. Okay, so now that we're looking at this, I am very happy for cold settings. However, let's get a little bit of a closer look so we can see why a hot laminator is better than a cold one. Over here, we've got slight little streaks where you can see the lamination hasn't stuck 100% to the vinyl. And then you'll notice there's slight little pitted marks, what looks like pitted marks everywhere, and there is nothing wrong with the vinyl nor the lamination. This is due to just slight air pockets and temperature. Now, if you want to get rid of these, if it's going to be an indoor print, then you can go ahead and switch this to hot lamination. Like your hot laminators for your desktop, those suck out all the air and push everything flat against the actual object so that there's no air pockets whatsoever. And that's what hot lamination will do. But if this is for outdoor signage, then the sun will take care of all of that. Within 1 week, it'll disappear completely. So don't worry too much. If you've got a cold laminator, there's nothing wrong. It's just that a hot laminator can give you that edge in time, which not always is on your side. And that's the basic functions on how to laminate with this machine. Now guys, this machine has a lot more advanced things that are built into it, and we can't show you all of that in one video, so we're going to do that in another video. Now, if you haven't already, push that subscribe button and click that bell icon so that you can get notified on that next video, because trust me, you're going to want to see it.
AI may eventually take over, but what's for certain is that smart machines are already operating all over the world right now. So stay ahead with AM.CO.za. For 11 years, they've been the leader in CNC and printing machines like CNC routers, large format printers, vinyl cutters, laser cutters, plasma cutters, DTF printers, and many more. Visit am.co.za showrooms in Sunny Rock, Joburg, and Montague Gardens, Cape Town, or WhatsApp hi to 060 600 6000 for more. am.co.za. Achievement matters.